Welcome back. Now we're on Greenland's farm right now, which is the only one of my 6 maps, which is based in the UK, or good old Blighty, as you could say. All of my other maps are based in Ireland, so this is the only English one. And I'll show you the reason I chose to play this map each day. So I mean, some of you might get a wee bit confused with me being on a different map each video quite often and things. The reason why is each time I feel like playing Farming Sim, I have a look at my 6 maps and think, which one do I feel like playing on right now? The reason I chose this one is I actually feel like doing some harvesting. And if we have a look here, it looks like tomorrow my 2 sorry about that, my 2 wheat fields here will be ready to harvest tomorrow. The day after that, my canola field here should be ready to harvest, although the 2 sunflower fields still a reasonable way off. And I don't normally do any harvesting, or I do very little harvesting at least, but I'm in the mood to do some harvesting, so I thought, well, if I play this game and get it up to tomorrow, then I have the opportunity to do some harvesting. So that's why we're playing on this map today. Now, I thought today, I've just finished watching AK's latest video, which he recorded, I don't know, it was a couple of days ago, because I didn't have time to watch it before now. So the one from Gelvin Valley from a couple of days ago, I've just finished watching that, and he's been talking about some stuff that I've been thinking about, and he also had a really brilliant idea that I'd kind of like to add to it, in fact. So first of all, the thing that he was talking about, which I've been thinking about a lot, is crash physics, or collision physics in Farming Simulator, to be more precise. Talking about like hedges and trees and things, power poles, fences, everything like that. Now, I've given this a lot of thought recently, because I know a lot of maps have handled it a different way. So I believe that a couple of Bullet Bill's maps, the hedges, he did them so the hedges didn't have collision physics for vehicles, so vehicles drive straight through them, but they did have collision physics for bales, which of course is very important, because if you're doing round bales and you're not quite on a flat surface, you can sometimes get your bales rolling. Like, they don't roll quite as easily on FS22 as they do on earlier versions, but they do still roll. And the last thing you really want is for your bales to roll through a hedge and into the next field, maybe roll a couple of fields away off the edge of the map altogether, or into a river or something. So I think hedges absolutely must, in my opinion, must absolutely have crash physics, collision physics for bales. So bales cannot go through hedges. Okay? For vehicles, I'm quite open either way. I mean, I don't drive through hedges, but if people don't want collision physics on your hedges for vehicles, it doesn't worry me, because I'm not trying to drive through them. It doesn't worry me. Sometimes I wouldn't even know whether they had the collision physics there or not. I know that later versions of Belly Spring on the gates had collision physics on the gates when they were closed, but when they were open it didn't. And that to me seemed like actually quite a good compromise in a way, so it meant that if the gate opened into the paddock, you didn't necessarily have to get out of the vehicle again and close the gate again before you start mowing or something, in order to avoid getting your mower caught on the gate. So I thought that was a good compromise. But at the end of the day, there's a few things that so I think a good combination here. So what I think is, when it comes to hedges, first of all, we're going to start talking about gates, okay? I don't care whether gates have collision physics on them or not when they're closed. I always treat a closed gate as closed, so I always hop out of my vehicle and open it. But if it didn't have collision physics on it and you could drive straight through it, it wouldn't worry me. So I think overall, I would say gates on my perfect map sort of thing would not have any collision physics on it. So you can drive through a gate, no problems whatsoever. But the gate posts either side of the gate, I think it's an absolute must that these do have collision physics. The reason why is people like me who likes to try and navigate into tight gateways with farm equipment and things, I get that challenge of doing so. And in fact, I'd actually go one step further, that any time you're towing a piece of farm equipment on the back of your tractor, for example, and you do hit the gate post, there's actually like a fine. I know I've seen maps before that have a speed camera on them, and you get fined if you are going too fast when you go past that speed camera, which is actually something else I quite like as well. But I think a similar fine system to represent paying to repair your equipment. Now I know you do have to pay to repair equipment, but I think that every time you hit a gate post with your equipment, either it should incur damage to that piece of equipment, but that could be annoying if you've, say for example, I don't know, take a mower or a plough out to plough a field and it's like 50% damaged when you start. You get out to the field and before you can even start ploughing, just because you had a little whoopsie as you tried to go in the gate of said field you're going to plough, all of a sudden you have to go back to your workshop with the plough and fix it up again before going out and giving it a second try. So what I think is you'd still have the normal vehicle repair that is built into every vehicle, but additional to that you have a fine system on these gate posts. So the gate posts do have collisions, and any time you hit a gate post with any vehicle, you get fined an instant fine. I don't know, it doesn't have to be an expensive one, you know, maybe $100 a hit or something, or maybe you could make it a different price depending on the level you've got the realism set at. So on easy it might be $100 every time you hit a gate post, at medium it could be $500, and at hard level make it a $1,000 fine every time you hit the gate post. And if you hit the gate post 3 times while trying to navigate into this narrow gate, then that's a $3,000 fine. As I said, the gate itself will have that with no collision, so people don't have to hop out and open the gate first if they don't wish to. Now hedges, I think having collisions on a hedge for bales is an absolute must to stop bales from rolling through the hedge and ending up off the edge of the map or in the next field or anything. But I actually agree with the idea of not having crash physics on the hedges, and I'll give you my reason why I believe that, even though I don't drive through hedges. And the reason I believe that is because if you're going to have this fine system on the gate posts that I'm proposing here, people that don't want to have to bother with that, they can just, to get into the field, just avoid the gate and the gate posts either side of the gate altogether, drive through the hedge, you know, half dozen feet down from where the gate is. There's absolutely zero chance of them damaging their equipment against the gate post then, so absolutely zero chance of getting fined, but they can still play the game and enjoy the game, driving in and out of the fields and doing their, with their equipment and doing the field work. Now, the next thing is, I personally really enjoy, and I might just I'll just stop this truck up here for a second and go for a walk so I can show you what I'm talking about. We'll go for a run actually, because a bit of distance to cover here. If we head down here to these 2 fields that tomorrow are going to be ready to harvest on my farm, and they've both got wheat in them. So this one that's coming up on our left here now, so this is the first one that doesn't really look like it's going to be ready tomorrow, but according to my calendar I think it will be. So this one here I have put at the edge of the field over here a big ditch in there. And the reason I did this, a lot of the fields in this particular map, I love this map, but a lot of the fields were very easy to navigate and things. So I put this in just to make it a bit harder to navigate with equipment, because you've got this huge ditch here. And I think, and the field next door, and we'll look at that one, again I added this in, but there's 2 lampposts here in the middle of the field, okay, that I added in just to again make it a wee bit of a challenge. There's another one over there, we won't go and look at them both since they're both the same. Now I do believe that anything you have in the middle of a field, like a power pole or a power pylon, maybe if there's a tree growing in the middle of the field, that definitely should not have crash physics on it. The reason I believe that is because I know opinion is divided on whether they are a good thing or not a good thing, and I think visually they're really, really fun, and just as I enjoy trying to navigate a narrow gateway, I enjoy trying to harvest around a lamppost or something, so I'm more than happy to have crash physics on them. But I also know there's people that would just find having a power pole in the middle of a field really, really annoying. So I think by not having crash physics on it, anyone that doesn't want to be bothered with having to navigate around it can just go straight through it, no problems. And even that ditch that I showed you that was at the edge of the field, now what you could perhaps do if you wanted to is have that ditch so that it's visual there only, and if you drive into the ditch accidentally you don't have to go into the ditch because the ground stays flat over the ditch there, so you just kind of end up hovering on in the air above the ditch. But so the ditch is only there visually, but for people like me that like the challenge, you've got the ditch there you've got to try and avoid. Although, having said that, if we did it that way where you didn't actually fall into the ditch, it would take away that challenge to some degree, because if I do screw up and I end up putting a tractor into the ditch accidentally, then I enjoy the challenge of trying to get the thing out of there. And because one of the things that I always play by, because I always end up making money too quickly in this game eventually and things, is I have this rule that if I get a vehicle so stuck that I cannot pull it out in any way, I can't get it out under its own steam, I can't attach a tow chain and pull it out or push it out using a bigger vehicle, I've got to reset it, then what I do is I sell it, and then I rebuy. Now I might buy, let's say for example I've got this truck stuck in that ditch, okay? I might decide to rebuy the same truck again, I might decide to buy a different truck instead. But either way, I have to sell this truck, whether I can really financially afford it at the moment or not. I have to sell this truck and replace it, and if money's too tight, maybe not replace it straight away and have to manage without it. I mean, I have got a couple of trucks on this farm, so I could manage without it if I had to. So I kind of do enjoy being able to actually physically drive into said ditch instead of staying flat on top. And then the other thing I thought of is traffic, because I know I've watched a lot of Fury Machine Gaming's videos and also AK's videos where, well, AK did a thing where he, one of the maps that he's playing on, and I think it was the Gelvin Valley map, the traffic had crash physics on it, but being typical farming simulator traffic, you'd sometimes get caught up in the sort of thing, and he found it quite annoying, so he made an invisible box thing. As soon as the AI traffic drove through that box, it removed the collision physics from it, so it then drove, and that box was basically exactly where they spawned from, so basically they drove all around the map with no crash physics on it. Now, personally, I like having crash physics on the traffic, simply because you've got options. You can turn the traffic on, you can turn the traffic off. Even if you want it on, you can turn it off then straight back on again if you've caused some huge traffic snarl up, and that resets all the traffic by doing that. But I can understand why some people don't want the hassle of having traffic there with their crash physics, and they don't want to have to necessarily go into the menu and turn it off and on all the time. So my proposal for the perfect map for traffic is this. I mean, I must admit that I think most maps actually have too much traffic on them anyway. I'm just topping up the diesel here before I struck away. Because we're talking country, out in the country here, we're not talking about in the towns, so there shouldn't be that much traffic really. There should be the occasional car and truck rather than every second another car going past. But my idea is, instead of having the traffic on or off options in the menu, we make it a three-way option menu rather than a two-way. You have traffic off, you have traffic on but visually only, so you can drive straight through it, there's no crash physics on it, or traffic on for real, where you've got the crash physics and woe be you if you hit any of the traffic. And if the map had that three-way option, like I think would be quite good personally, then you'd still have the option there of turning the traffic, you know, if you're running it with traffic on and not just visually, but actually for real, if you got caught up in it, just trying to get out of the shed here, I parked the truck a bit too close to the pole on that side, so Let's try and get it. There we go. You can still turn the traffic off, then straight back on again in order to reset the traffic if you got it too snarled up. Okay? So, yeah, that was my ideas for crash physics. I think hedges, have it off so people can drive through the hedge, get into the paddock if they don't like narrow gateways. Gate posts, either side of the gate, definitely have them on with a fine system attached to them if you hit them. Gates, I'm happy either way. I like the crash physics definitely being off when the gate's open. I'm more than happy to have them off all the time so you can physically just drive through a gate even when it's closed. But again, remember, you couldn't hit the gate post either side of the gate or you'll be fined. And traffic, changing it from a two-way thing of on or off to off, on visually only, or on for real. So it's a three-way thing instead of a two-way thing. So that was my thoughts there. Now the other thing that AK mentioned in this last Gelvin Valley video of his, that I thought was a really, really great idea, is for anyone that plays Farming Simulator on the same map for quite some time, and I know there's not necessarily that many of us that do that, but there are some, but I think everyone would agree that once you've paid off your overdraft and things, you start to build up money too quickly. And even on the hardest levels, you can start building up money really, really quickly. So what AK suggested in his last video, that I thought was a splendid idea, but I do want to add to it, is he said most maps, this one here included, have a church in them. So we'll jump on one of the farm bikes here, and go down and have a look at this, at the church that this map has. Yeah, most maps have a church on them, and even if they haven't, there's be plenty of room within the town or whatever to put a church if you wanted to. So let's head down here. So what AK's idea was is for people that build up too much money, this would be particularly for those people playing on consoles where you can't get into the XML, but it could actually be quite handy for PC players like myself as well, and that it can be annoying to have to save the game, quit, and then go out to get into the XML to make changes in the XML to the amount of money you've got on hand, and then go back into the game again. I mean, you can do it, but it can be a tad annoying occasionally. So what AK suggested is any map like this one that has a church, so we're heading down to the church here now, that you have just inside the door of the church a collection plate option where you can go into the church, and I think, is it this one? Yeah, it is. So here's the church on this map, just here. And so what he was suggesting is that you could hop out and wander into the church and make a donation of whatever amount of money you wanted into the I shouldn't really do that, it sort of takes away from the realism, doesn't it? Just to get rid of some money. When you're building up too much money, go and donate some to the church. And I thought that was an absolutely brilliant idea, I really did. But I'd like to change one part of the idea slightly. So he suggested that he thought there might be no motivation to do that if there was nothing in it for you. So he suggested that perhaps if you did that, you got a higher yield from your next harvest or something like that. But I just disagree with that, and the reason why is there's a couple of reasons. First of all, if you're getting a higher yield from the next harvest, then that's causing you to get more money. And the whole reason you went and gave this donation in the first place is to get rid of money because you got too much. So it's not really a reward system to give you more money, so a higher yield or something, by doing so. You know, if you've got if the problem in game, I don't think this is ever going to be a problem in real life, but if your problem in game is you've got too much money, you don't want to do something that's going to reward you by giving you even more money. Also, I think it sends the wrong message if you're donating at the church there in order to gain something, like to gain extra yield with your next harvest. So what I think I would do if I was going to make a mod in a map whereby you go into the church and donate money when you've got too much, is have it where there's seemingly no reward in the game for doing so. But perhaps going on in the background, and you wouldn't tell people this in the mod, when they go to read the mod, or if it's built into the map, you wouldn't mention it in the map. Like, you'd mention that yes, you can go and donate money at the church if you've got too much to get rid of some of it, and don't make any mention of anything else beyond that. But what I was thinking, instead of rewarding you with extra yield with your next harvest or something like that, what I was thinking is your AI traffic there. You've probably seen that different maps have different AI traffic, and I actually had a really brilliant idea. What I thought is you'd have it where it slowly keeps track of how much you're donating at the church in order to get rid of money. Like, maybe go and donate 100,000 now, maybe in a few months' time you've done another harvest, you've got more money that you don't really need, go and donate another 200,000. So it actually adds up in the background. It doesn't give you a running total, so there's no way you can, short of going into the XML, there's no way you can see how much you've donated in full to date or anything. But what I was thinking is every time it gets up to $1 million that you've donated, to get to $1 million, suddenly sends through some AI traffic, a whole lot of tractors with banners around them and balloons hanging off them, so you get kind of like a tractor parade that flows through the roots of the town. So you can stand here on the edge of the road and watch this parade of classic tractors go through. In fact, if you knew about it and you timed it right, you'd probably grab an old tractor of your own and join in the back of the parade and just follow all the AI tractors that are going through. But just to have like a tractor parade going through there, each time it gets $1 million. So when you've got your donations have reached 1 million, you get this tractor parade comes through. If it reaches 2 million, you get another tractor parade comes through, and so on and so forth. As I said, so by doing that, it's a reward insofar as, hey, you gain something by having donated so much money, but you're not really gaining anything. It doesn't improve your farming life in any way. It doesn't improve your vehicles that you own. It doesn't give you a greater yield on the field. It doesn't do anything like that. It's a visual thing only of, oh look, there's a tractor parade going on. You could maybe even perhaps have different things at different things, so at different amounts. So when you donate $1 million, you get a parade of tractors through town. When you've donated 2 million total, you get some old Spitfires or P-51 Mustangs or something flying overhead, flying on their way to an air show type thing. Maybe doing a few loop-the-loops in the sky above you. You can sit there and watch. $3 million, maybe it's a truck show with a whole lot of trucks driving through. So it wouldn't have to be the same thing every time, but I think it'd be just as good if it was just a tractor parade every time you'd reach another $1 million donated. It means that you're being rewarded in some way, but it's not a reward that's actually meaningful to the game, like, it gives you better equipment or better yields or anything like that. It's just a visual only reward. Now, as I said, if I was going to design that mod, and trust me, I don't have the skills to design a mod like that, or if I was going to put it into a map, I wouldn't even mention in the mod. I'd say, look, here's a mod where if you've got too much money, go and donate some at the local church here, and you can donate as little or as much as you want. It's got to be done in, say, $5,000 lots, since that's how the bank seems to work in this game. And leave it at that. Don't make any mention of any rewards whatsoever, so people aren't doing it in order to get the reward. But when they've reached that $1 million donated, suddenly there's a, hey, look what's triggered, and look what's happening. And by not keeping a running total that you can see without going into the XML, it means that you don't know when that's going to happen. It's going to be a surprise when it does happen. Because unless you, say, donate $999,990 now, and then go and donate $20 again straight away, unless you do something like that, you never know how close you are to that $1 million total donations that you've made to get that triggered. So that was my thoughts on AK's, what I think was AK's really brilliant idea. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. because yeah, it's good. I've had a bit of time to think it through, and also love to hear your thoughts on my idea of having solid gate posts that have crash physics attached on either side of the gates into the paddocks. The gate posts themselves, so this one here, these two big white concrete posts here, both have crash physics with fines attached. And as I said, my proposal would be the amount of the fine would vary depending on the skill level you got the game set at. At the easiest level, maybe $100 each hit. At the hardest level, maybe $1,000 each hit. And that's an instant fine, so it doesn't actually add to the damage counter on your vehicle at all, because you want to be able to get the, if you turn up to the paddock with a half fixed plough to plough the field, you want it to be half fixed while you're doing the ploughing. So it doesn't add to the damage of the vehicle, but it does just give you an instant cash fine for not navigating the gate very well. But as I said, if you're going to put fines on those gate posts, like I propose, you would have it so there's no crash physics on the fences or the hedges. So if you're not very good at driving, and you don't want to incur thousands of dollars of fines every time you try and go into the field, just avoid the gate altogether and just turn into the paddock here instead. A few metres down from the gate. You can drive straight to the fence to get in there. You're not going to incur any fines between those two posts. So yeah, love to hear your feedback on those two ideas. And on that note, I will leave you. Thank you very much. Bye.